In this video, we're going to introduce encryption. We've already established that sending messages on the internet gets broken down into little tiny postcards of information. And you can send postcard from your computer, which gets transmitted to another computer or device, and through the internet until it arrives at its destination. But what happens if there's an evildoer in between your computer and the destination? As you send the postcard through the internet, the evildoer can intercept your message and then copy it somewhere else as it goes by, so they now have a copy of your message. They can now read what you were sending across the internet. This is part of the reason why the postcard analogy works so well, because with a regular postcard, it's not inside of an envelope, so anyone who touches the postcard from its source to its destination can read the contents of the postcard. So if you have an evil postman, as pictured here, who sees your postcard as it goes by, it could copy out the contents of your postcard or make a photocopy of it or read your secret message that you're trying to send your friend. So this happens in the real world with regular postcards, and this happens on the internet with packets. Any device that's in between the source and the destination can actually look at your packets and see the full contents of what they contain. So if we're interested in maintaining some security, what we can do is encrypt our message. I'll talk a little bit about how that's done. But first, let's get the picture straight. So I, as the blue sender, take my postcard and I encrypt it using some fancy technique. I will represent that as a red postcard. Now I'm sending an encrypted message to my friend, and the evil postman in between cannot interpret what the message says because only my friend has the instructions on how to decrypt the message. So I, as the sender, encrypt my message. It's now unreadable unless you have the special information you need to decrypt the message and view it. So this will thwart our evil postman, and we could do something like this on the internet as well. Let's take a look at a simple technique you may have learned when you were in grade school on how to encrypt messages. In this case, we're going to shift every letter by 3. So instead of sending you the letter A, I will send you the letter D. And instead of sending you the letter B, I will send you the letter E. And so forth and so on until W becomes Z. And we can wrap around and Z will become C. This method is known as a Caesar cipher because it was used by Julius Caesar over 2,000 years ago. So that should tell you how state-of-the-art this particular method is. But it captures everything we need to know about how encryption works. We're going to have some encryption method, and trust us, today's computers use something more fancy than a Caesar cipher. But we also need a number that helps us use the encryption. So in the Caesar cipher we used 3. Of course, we also need to be able to decrypt our message. So if the recipient knows the number 3 and the method we use to encrypt the message, then they can decode the message and view it. In today's world, we don't use the Caesar cipher, and we don't use numbers like 3. We use ginormous numbers, such as this, to encrypt or decrypt our messages. So right now, as you're communicating over the internet, numbers such as this big number are being used to encrypt and decrypt messages you send over the internet. So this particular method of encryption works fine as long as the sender and the receiver both have this special magic number that allows them to encode and decode a message. Everything will work smoothly. So this works great if the sender and receiver can have a private conversation where nobody is listening and they can communicate the secret number back and forth between them. But that's not how the internet works, because if I'm going to connect to a computer on the other side of the world, the very first contact I have will be done through packets over the internet. So we'll never have complete privacy. We'll never be able to exchange this number in secret without anybody knowing or intercepting it in between. And if the person intercepting it gets that number, then our encryption is broken and they can spy on everything we've done. So the problem now becomes, how do I send you a message? If we're only communicating over postcards or things that are visible to the entire world, how do I send a message to you that only you can receive?